says the craziest thing that I cannot get over is that Elon has caused 600,000 deaths with a projected 14 million deaths over the next 5 years because of his USAID cuts. That's more deaths than the Holocaust. Yet, he still gets to walk around. Now, this is based on some faulty math, but they did the typical thing. USAID says, here's how many people we save per year. Actually, they go to the NGOs that they fund, and the NGOs are like, yeah, here's how many people we save per year. We're pretty sure that this many people would have died if you guys would not have given us this amount of money, and we would not have spent it so perfectly over this amount of time. And then when people go and they say, well, we cut back some of this money, or we cut back this program, they go back and they look and they say, well, that's how many people they projected they were saving. Okay. And so since we are not directly giving this money to the federal government, and then through USAID, and then through these 20 different NGOs, then those people are going to die. And so we have created a number, and this is how many. And they'll even do this even though they're all projections. You don't know. They'll even do it and say, this is how many people have died so far, using like the averages. And here's, well, if it's this many for 10 years, then it's this many per year. So it's this many per month, this many people a day, an hour, a minute. And here's Elon Musk killing someone every minute. He must be stopped. It's the kind of thing that they do. Then the number's just fugazi. But then the even dumber thing on top of this, if you're to be held responsible morally because you didn't want to send this person's money to that company who gave it to this person who then used some of it for this person, allegedly. If you're to be held morally responsible for that, then why don't we hold people still more responsible for not sending even more money over to people? Do you know how many millions of people die every year from things that were preventable? And do you know how much richer everyone in America is compared to all of those people on the continent of Africa? So how is it that until you have equalized everyone's income and everyone's wealth to stop those people from dying, that you cannot be held morally responsible? In fact, you don't even have to send it through the government. You could be sending it through charities right now who say that they are going to save these people's lives. You could do it right now. Are you going to send $10? That's good. But guess what? 20 would have saved 5 more people's lives. You murderer. Do you guys understand how stupid this is? It's not your responsibility to take care of everyone else in the world. And if you're going to say that cutting off that amount of money is the reason that these people died right here, you're saying that somehow there is a responsibility for us to all do that. And if there's a responsibility, where does that stop? With the amount we were paying in 2024? Because it could have been more than that. And you could be doing it too. You dumbass. All right, some bad math, and then we'll get off number 9, I swear. Melanie D on X said Elon Musk is so rich he could pay for tuition-free public college, universal child care, close the cap to fund universal school meals, paid sick leave for everyone. He could end homelessness. He could end hunger. That'd be fine. I got hungry last night for a bit, and I would like to never feel that ever again, honestly. So I would like to end hunger. And he could do a UBI of $1,250 for every adult, and he'd still be a billionaire. Now, what was tricky here, I actually looked into the math on all this. The things that she just mentioned actually add up to $599 billion. And so on that day, his wealth was $600 billion. So he could do all those things, and he would still be a billionaire. There's a couple problems with that. What's the obvious problem? The one we've talked about so many times. He doesn't have that money in his bank account. He would have to sell his shares. And when he went to sell his shares of Tesla, Tesla would tank. Tesla would crash. So he would not be able to redeem the full $600 billion. I think if he were lucky and he were going to sell all of those shares, he might be lucky to end up having $300 billion, something like that. Probably less than that, actually. But regardless, let's say he could cash out all that. He redeems it, takes his coupons to the bank. He's like, all right. And then they're like, okay, here's $600 billion. This is for 1 year. That's another problem. That's 1 year. And so what you're saying is like, we should just crash this company, kill these jobs, prevent all these future innovations from happening, all the other things that Musk is going to create. We're going to destroy those companies so we can pay for all of these things for 1 year. Other problems as well. That's $600 billion. That is a quarter of the current U.S. deficit. We spend $7 trillion every year and apparently haven't been able to do these things. Crazy thing about how we haven't been able to do these things is that pick ending homelessness. What did California spend on ending homelessness? $28 billion, I think. Somewhere between $20 and $30 billion over a course of so many years. You know what they ended up with? More homeless people than there were when they started spending the money to end homelessness. That's pretty crazy. Ending hunger, feeding everyone. They're going off and by the way, they're going off of these ridiculous numbers like, $6 billion could end hunger for like this meal right here. And there's another one. Got to keep eating. Okay. And by the way, the UBI would actually take up like the entire thing, but whatever. She's also, she thought it was important to note, from Canada. Her account is based in Canada, eh? We shouldn't listen to anything that she's talking about. Popular meme going around. Anytime I see a meme like this and it's got like 2 million views on it, I reckon there ought to be a response. The response in the community notes was not very good, so I figured I would give a response. Sweden, we tax our billionaires at 55%. Netherlands, we tax our billionaires at 49.5%. Germany, we tax ours at 47%. United States, you tax your billionaires? And this person says it's time to figure it the F out, America. There's a problem with this meme. Neither Sweden, the Netherlands, or Germany have a wealth tax. In fact, they have had wealth taxes. They ended their wealth taxes. So that's a big thing right there. There's already like a major lie right here that they are not wealth taxing their billionaires. Now, the crazier part about this is when you look up the stats like Sweden 55%, Netherlands 49%, Germany 47%, those numbers are the top marginal tax rates for everyone. So you say, we tax our billionaires at 55% or at 47%. Well, in that case, we also tax our billionaires. The number's 37 or 38%. I don't remember exactly what the top marginal tax rate is. Plus the states have taxes on top of that. All the other things, but say, yeah, top marginal tax rate. So we do have that. But then the crazier thing, and all these people who talk about these other, here's social, this is the kind of socialism I'm talking about, the kind of democratic socialism I'm talking about. Like in Sweden, that 55% tax rate kicks in at $82,000 a year. Rest of that, you're paying the top marginal tax rate. Is that something people want here in America? To emulate these perfect democratic socialist countries, as they call them? No, it's not. It's obviously not what they want at all. They want the outcomes of Sweden without actually having the policies that have gotten some of those outcomes in their little tiny country of 7 million people. They would not support those policies. There's something crazy about those policies. Like, we want things to be fair. And so when you're making $10 million, we say you got to pay a higher tax rate than this poor person who's in the middle class. And so we make it really fair. They call it a progressive tax rate. We separate those rich people off and we say, you got to pay this higher tax rate on all that money. People would not stand for the kind of tax rates they have in these other countries at all. What they're saying is, yeah, middle class guy, middle class girl, richest guy in the nation, we reckon y'all ought to pay the same income tax, top marginal tax rate on your income. That's what we think is fair.